Hi, this is Erhan with the JWU NCSA, and today I'm going to go ahead and give a brief introduction to software reverse engineering with Kali Linux and Ghidra. So we're going to go ahead and go to our Kali Linux VM, whether this is a fresh install or a Kali Linux OVA, either one will work just fine. And when we go ahead and we open our Kali Linux virtual machine, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try a couple of very simple crack me's today. So once you have Ghidra installed, and the commands to install Ghidra in Kali are going to be in the description of this video, you can go ahead and run Ghidra run, and then that will go ahead and launch the program. This is an OVA I've used previously, and my command is a little different, but for most of it, it should just be Ghidra run, and that will go ahead and launch your Ghidra. So we're going to go ahead and start a new project. And I'll go ahead and introduce our challenges. So there are two challenges here, challenge 1 and challenge 2, and these are both executable files. There's no source code or anything like that on this machine here, and even if I go ahead and look at my documents folder, the only thing that's in here is a C file, which we're going to go ahead and look at. So to start, you're going to notice Ghidra no active project. So we're going to go ahead and start a project. We're going to go File, New Project. I just do non-shared project. Typically works just fine for me. I've never had to use shared project, so non-shared project should work just fine. We'll go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to do challenge number 1, just because we're going to be reversing this program here. And then we've got challenge number 1 here as a folder. Now I'm going to go File, Import File, and from my desktop, I'm going to go ahead and grab challenge1.exe. Everything in the default here looks good. This program was compiled to GCC, so everything should be okay. We'll hit OK. It'll go ahead and import the entire file, and you'll get this wall of text, mostly just meaning that it successfully was able to import. So we'll just hit OK, and now we are here. So the next step, it's very important. It's actually imperative to know what color the dragon is, and the dragon is a green dragon. So we're going to go ahead and hit the green dragon button. And then that will go ahead and start our code browser. It didn't open automatically. Normally it does, but you'll see this is the challenge 1. We can go ahead and minimize this window. Don't X this window out, otherwise the whole thing will close. And currently we've got nothing in the listing view or the decompiler. So we'll go File, Open, and we'll open challenge1.exe. It's going to say challenge 1 has not been analyzed. Would you like to analyze it now? We're going to hit yes. I'm looking for pretty much all the defaults here. Nothing would be too crazy, so I'll just go ahead and analyze all of the defaults. And then it's going to go through and analyze our function. So we're going to get quite a lot. Most of this is assembly code. In the listing view here. You'll notice the decompiler has populated with some stuff, but most of this is assembly code. If you don't understand assembly code, that's perfectly okay. We actually won't really be using the listing view for much of this reverse. For your way more technical reverses, for your very challenging reverses, the listing view becomes very handy. But for what we are doing, we're not going to be using the listing view here. So I'm going to go ahead and run challenge1.exe so we have an idea of what we are actually looking at. And you can notice it's a simple program that asks us for a password. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in everyone's first attempt. I'll enter password. And you can notice that the password is incorrect. So the whole point of what we're doing right now is trying to find the correct password within the program. And as soon as we take it into Ghidra, we can go ahead and take a look at a lot of different things. So starting out, we're going to go to our symbol tree here, and we're going to go to functions. This is not a very complicated program, so we're going to look for our main function. This program was written in C, and you can see something very, very similar to what you would normally see as the C programming language, with a couple of very notable changes. And I'll go ahead and break it down. So now that we are in our main function, we've got quite a bit of things that we're looking for. We can see some stuff like this, which is our variables. So something is undefined at local 51, something is undefined at local 49. These seem to be just variables that exist, and we can actually see that there is a variable that is being declared, which is local 51 at this string of characters here. This is important. We're going to have to keep this around for later. I will note that a lot of different versions of Ghidra do certainly actually translate this for you. I'm purposely using an older version here that is giving me this in ciphertext. You can actually see that Ghidra itself actually does the regular characters. You can see that when we hover over here, but I'm going to go ahead and show you, in case you didn't have this, how to take a look at some stuff. So we can see printf, please enter the password, which makes a lot of sense considering our terminal asked us for the exact same thing. Please enter the password, and indeed it does ask us for the password. We can also see incorrect password, please try again, and that once again populated in our terminal when we entered in a incorrect password. Our goal is to try to find this, the correct password in the program. And to do that, we need a little bit of programming knowledge on the C programming language, but basically, at a glance, it's asking us for a password, it's asking for a user input, that's what scanf does, and is saving that to a variable called local58, which I can imagine in the exact program would probably be something called user input or some variable like that. Then this part gives away almost the entire trick. Right here, this is local 48 being compared with string compare to local 51. So this has got to mean something pretty serious for us. And then it says if this is correct, basically this string compare, if that is correct, then the correct password has been given to us. Now let's head back to the string compare function really quickly. You can see that local 48, which is the user input that we established earlier, is being compared to local 51, a variable in the program. So we're going to go ahead and take this variable and try to decrypt it. So we'll go ahead and copy that. You can also highlight to get the correct text, but I actually want to show a very cool program off that you've probably seen before, and that is CyberChef. So I've got this value copied over, and now we're going to go ahead and look at a couple things. Clearly, we're not dealing with many different encryption standards here, as it's just comparing local 48 to local 51. And the good news is this is something you'll be able to tell at a glance very easily, but this is actually in hex. And we can see that once we've gone ahead and thrown hex in place, we actually get this string of characters. So let's go ahead and try that in our program. So we'll run challenge 1 again, and then the results of our CyberChef gives us that very particular text there. But something is wrong. Our password is not going through. And that's because Ghidra likes to do something very particular, especially the older versions like the one I have installed here. Ghidra actually likes to reverse the text. So if I go ahead and reverse it, we get cyber.org. Let's go ahead and give that a try on our program. All one word. And just like that, we've gone ahead and cracked a very simple crack me. And I can imagine that the program looks very, very similar to this. Basically just says the password is this value here, and then this is the user input, and then we'll just compare the two of them. And that seems to be a pretty simple crack me. So let's go ahead and move on to something more advanced, which is challenge number 2. We'll go ahead and we'll save this project. And now we'll go ahead and start Ghidra up one more time. We'll X that out, and we'll just go ahead and start Ghidra. I always like to do a fresh launch of Ghidra, no matter which challenge I'm doing. That way I can keep things nice and separate. So now we'll go ahead and do new project, and we'll do the same thing, non-shared project. This is challenge 2. not challenge 21, challenge 2. And then we'll go ahead and input our file, which this time is going to be challenge2.exe. Defaults are just fine. And then we have successfully done that. The dragon is green, so we'll go ahead and use our green dragon button to go ahead and analyze this file. And now that we've got Ghidra started, we'll go ahead and grab our file. You can actually input from this menu, but I'd like to import beforehand. And we'll go ahead and analyze this code here. So we'll go over to our functions and we'll go check out the main function, and we can see that there is quite a lot more going on. A whole lot more variables and a whole lot more things going on. So we'll go ahead and break this down. So once again, we get a variable that's being declared, local 30 in this case, and we can go ahead and see that there is some plain text here. But this one isn't going to be as easy, so we definitely want to trace the program here. We can go ahead and see that our decrypt function, which is a function that's not normally in C, this is definitely something that was programmed, is going ahead and taking a variable called local48, which is created up here, and sending it to this function. And we can actually see in our functions, our symbol tree here, that the decrypt function does exist, and it's all this right here. Very honestly, I'll go ahead and break this down really simply. This is a Caesar cipher, or a shift cipher. So there is a number of characters being shifted here from our main password. And we can actually find that out in the decrypt function. So we can take a look at what's going on here. So it's going to compare a variable called local28 to local48. And then if things are correct, we find the correct password just like before. And this program was specifically made for reverse engineering, so it actually does give us a hint. Keep track of what the program does with user inputs. So we can actually see that the decrypt function leads to a shift cipher, and we actually do get the number of characters being shifted here at 5. So now when we take this value into CyberChef, and we'll go ahead and do that same thing, and once we take that into CyberChef, we get this input here, which we know Ghidra likes to reverse things, at least my version of Ghidra does. So we'll go ahead and reverse it ourselves manually. And now we have this random string of text, which I guarantee you wouldn't work if we ran this program. So let's take a look at our decrypt function really quickly. And we can see that local48, which is being copied over from local30, and is then put through this decryption function, sending through a condition of 5. Very simply, this is just telling it to shift the entire encrypted password, which is given to us in the program, by a number of characters, that being 5. So when we take a look at CyberChef, and when we go ahead and either manually do a shift, or we go ahead and just go to a website like Decode or some other shift cipher website, we actually end up with this as our plain text. And then running the program does, in fact, give us that as the correct password. So that is reversing 2 programs. Challenge 1, which is a pretty simple, just find the password in the program, enter the correct password, and it works just fine. And challenge 2, which involves a shift cipher and a little bit of encryption. A lot of times what you'll end up finding, especially in reverse engineering programs, will be encrypted, so it's really nice to have that. So that was a quick breakdown of reverse engineering. We did a couple of different things, for example, how to find functions, how to do a simple crack me, and a couple of other things. Some of the commands as well as some of the files are going to be in the description if you'd like to try this one for yourself, but that's a pretty quick and dirty breakdown of Ghidra and some simple crack me's. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thank you so much.